Welcome to Dungeon Jedi Masters. Today we've got a fun topic, or at least a topic I'll say that's fun to me. We're going to talk about diversity in a galaxy far, far away. Before we get into it, I want to go over a really cool piece of news or good news for me, and I hope you enjoy it too. But I got to jump on the Three Black Halflings podcast and talk about the Star Wars 5e system. Podcast link in the description. Go check it out. It's hilarious. If you guys know the Three Black Halfling crew, they keep it light. They got the jokes flowing, and I haven't laughed that much in a long time. So please go check it out. You'll have a blast and hear a little bit more from the Star Wars 5e system from a little bit of a different perspective too. So go check that out. And if you're not familiar with Three Black Halflings, pause the video, go look them up. Go to wherever you get your podcast from. Go to wherever you get your Dungeon Jedi Master podcast from. Look up Three Black Halflings. You won't be disappointed. They're a podcast in the tabletop space that goes over just different uh, items related to D&D, as well as like class walkthroughs, D&D guides and how-tos, and just different information on how to run a cool session, but also going over different things that are going on in the culture, geek culture, and kind of what's going on there. But what really drew me to the podcast is that they go over the black experience and the person of color experience in the tabletop and D&D spaces, which is something that even now is still underrepresented. But when they first started a couple years ago, there was just no representation. So them jumping in, kind of trailblazing on that side, it was just amazing and something that I've loved them for. And it was really kind of a blast and a little bit of an honor for me to get to jump on with them and talk about the Star Wars 5e system and share some jokes. So really, if you're not familiar with them, go check them out. Start with my podcast, a little selfishness there with them, but otherwise go through their backlog and all the cool things they're doing. They do actual plays as well with the Wagadu system, which is amazing, especially if you're looking for kind of a different D&D world that's not so Eurocentric. Give Wagadu a try. But they also have the new Outlaws and Orbalists too, which is amazing. All great, good fun. They're actors, so they can keep it funny while still bringing some of that drama with it too. So it's amazing. It's got my wholehearted stamp of approval, and I got a blessed to be on there with them too. So go check it out and let us know what you think in the comments too, or if you've got some cool Three Black Halflings memories, let us know. But I was just really honored to be on there with them. But one of the topics I wanted to talk about with them, but between the jokes, the laughs, I completely forgot to bring it up. But I wanted to talk a little bit about diversity in a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars is amazing. For those who've listened to the podcast or watched our other YouTube videos, you know that I'm a huge Star Wars fan, especially a huge Legends fan. I love the movies, but Legends, the books, the comics, the games. That's where a lot of my Star Wars, I got my wholehearted Star Wars love and fandom comes from. But if I had to give one complaint, just one complaint, I wouldn't say it's actually not a little complaint. If I had to give a complaint, there's just a little bit of a lack. There's a lack of diversity within the Star Wars universe, which is amplified when you get into Legends and the books, the comic books, the video games. Star Wars is a huge galaxy with hundreds of different alien species and all of the different kind of human shades and races represented there too. But one of the things that never really shines through is that diversity. Looking at the books, looking at the games, even the movies, and the movies are easy targets, but we're not going to focus on them. But looking at that, there's just so many protagonists that wind up being white dudes. With nothing wrong with that, but definitely in a regular world where there's a lot of different races, you got mixing it up would be good. But especially in Star Wars, where you literally have hundreds of different species milling about the galaxy, it's crazy how many of the protagonists are just white dudes, which I really like. It's something that if I'm going to date myself, before Reddit, the old Force.net days, where that was kind of where you went to gather and talk about Star Wars. I complained about it then. It's kind of always amazed me with how many different options there were, how much they went back to the main character being just kind of the average white guy coming in. Which, I said nothing wrong with that, but I just do feel like the diversity within different races in our regular world, but especially in the different species, could have really brought some of those stories a different perspective and to a different level. And kind of just one thing I'll pick on too. So huge Legends fan, but if you get to the Legacy of the Force or the New Jedi Order series, and they reestablished the High Council, like the Council, Jedi Council back in the prequel days had a lot of cool aliens on there, but when they reestablished it for the New Jedi Order, 6 of the 13 members were white guys. 9 of them were white overall, 3 real aliens, and I think 2 near humans, which looked human. Uh, it was just real, kind of a real lack of diversity from that side. And they could, and what they did is they pulled from a lot of their old books. So Corn Horn from the Rogue Squadron series, love Corn. Kent Hammer from New Jedi Order, Kyle Katarn from the Dark Forces series. They pulled a lot from the other kind of expanded universe works that they've done, but all of those guys were white dudes, which, I mean, it's one of those things. It was, I wouldn't say disheartening, but it was one of those things that was a little bit kind of harder to deal with. If there wasn't that cool level of representation and diversity within their own works, and just kind of made it a little not harder to get into, but it's kind of one of those sore spots. And I brought it up, and sometimes other fans may not have seen it, but it's really one of those things that came back to me and kind of bugged me a little bit. And one of the biggest ones that bugged me too is when I forgot what legacy. I think it's Fate of the Jedi. But when they made or kind of retcon Jaden Core, who for those of you guys who haven't played it, Jedi Academy, he was the protagonist for that one. But the cool thing with him, he'll make your own character. So you could make him human, you could make him any shade of human, but you could also make him like a Rhodian, a Zabrak, Twi'lek. I forgot all the different races they had for that game, but there's enough to they kind of mix it up and bring something unique to the table. But when they brought him into the screen, or kind of when they brought him into the book and they described him, he was another bearded white guy. Which I was like, come on, you already made Revan white too. Yeah, you don't have to go in and just rewrite all of the old create your characters and make them kind of that standard choice. So that was just one of my complaints there, because really, there's a whole galaxy with Star Wars, and even just kind of stepping out of the human sphere, there's so many different aliens and different perspectives that you can bring to your stories, and just really have kind of a unique opportunity to bring them to life and bring something new to your table. And that's kind of what we're going to go into today, too. So, really, one of my biggest pieces of advice, and this isn't, so that's going to be kind of a real formalized, mapped out advice video like we usually do. But just really take a look at some of the characters you're making. If you're a Dungeon Jedi, or Dungeon Master, or Dungeon Jedi Master, and you're making your characters or your NPCs that are going to appear in your stories, take a look and kind of see what you're creating. And because one of the reasons and I'll say this, the lack of diversity in Star Wars, especially in the Legends verse, it wasn't due to maliciousness. It wasn't due to any kind of like inherent need to not have that diversity. It was just due to that own kind of biasness that can exist in anyone. Most of the writers, and somebody in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember a person of color writer for the Legends universe. Canon may have done better. I know they're trying. They still got a long ways to go, but Disney and the canon are trying to kind of slowly move that needle. But I do know for the Legends, I can't think of one. And correct me if I'm wrong, there may not have been one. But most of like the big writers and the kind of the frequent writers, Timothy Zahn, one of my favorites, James Luceno, one of the greats, the Michael Stackpole, Aaron Alston, uh, Matthew Stover, all of those guys are white guys, mostly middle-aged white guys, which is why you'll see a lot of the protagonists are bearded, middle-aged white guys. It's not something that they're doing maliciously. It's just kind of from their own background and behavior, and they've kind of stepped out of their own biases, and that's kind of why there's lack of diversity. Which is why I think when you're kind of building out for your table, just to take a chance and step out of your own biases, something I try to do, and I'm trying to do more too, and just kind of include some different for the humans, the human races and nationalities in our own world, and kind of translate them into a galaxy far, far away. But for the love of God, for the species, include some of the kind of any of the species, the Twi'leks, the Zabraks, the Rhodians, if you want to go for the common Star Wars species. But dive deep. There's hundreds of species, and the cool thing with Star Wars 5e is we've got over 100 now species on there too. So most of the big ones are already on there, and you can tap in into the already made resources. But jump in, get some Faline in there, get your Prince Exoron, get some Ren in there, get some Deltrons. You can have some really crazy raunchy stories with some Deltrons. Just really expand into the different kind of the lore and just really make it feel like a galaxy. I know humans in the lore are the most prevalent, but they shouldn't feel like they're the only people in the galaxy doing anything, which was what Legends kind of felt like to me sometimes. So really, when you're building that game, kind of look around your table, and even if your table all looks like you, try to take a step back, bring some new diversity levels in there, bring some aliens in, bring some of those different species, races, nationalities in, and just have some fun with it. And I think that'll, from as you take a look at those different perspectives for both alien and real world, it'll help it kind of improve your storytelling. You'll get to have different kind of inputs as you're going through and building the blocks of your story, and hopefully be able to use those to make something great. So this was a real quick and short video, below 15 minutes, which is crazy for me. So just something I wanted to, because kind of a topic I wanted to talk to in the Star Wars space. And also wanted to give myself a shout out for the Three Black Halflings podcast. If you haven't, click on the description down below. Check it out. This was a blast for me, and I hope the community loves it. But I had fun too. So definitely, this is a little bucket list item. So check it out. Click it, like it, sub to Three Black Halflings if you're not already, and just really kind of support them. They're amazing creators. But overall, thank you guys for tuning in, and drop a like and leave any comments too about your own diversity or experience with diversity in gaming or even diversity in Star Wars too. So throw those in there. I'd love to see them. But thank you all for the time, and may the force be with you.